Hello and welcome to It's All About You, the best show about you on the internet. I am B. Dave Walters, writer, life coach, and talk radio host. This is episode number 78. More questions. Again, I'll think of a better answer. So if you saw the last episode, I was answering questions that had been submitted through formspring.me/B. Dave Walters. Form like membership form, spring like the season.me/B. Dave Walters. And you can ask me anything. You can ask anonymously, or you can give me your name. And like I said, I will always answer either via one of these videos on the radio, via an article, or all three, if it's a interesting or in-depth enough question. And so we were going through these, and I realized I had a little bit more time and a lot more questions. So I figured I want to answer some more, and then I'm going to do some more on the radio tomorrow night. So this one will be a little shorter video, though. So, next question. And if you haven't seen the previous episode or any of the other ones that I've done, I don't read these in advance. So this, what you see, is like my real-time answer to these questions. And I also should say, you can find the links to the questions I've answered before, the articles I've written, the videos, the radio, everything on a website called about.me/B. Dave Walters. About.me, like me, /B. Dave Walters. Okay. I like to think positive and stay upbeat, but when I look at the news and the injustice happening in parts of the world, I get angry and sad. For the sake of my well-being and positivity, should I avoid watching the news and looking at the world's problems? Again, I like to think positive and stay upbeat, but when I look at the news and the injustice happening in the parts of the world, I get angry and sad. For the sake of my well-being and positivity, should I avoid watching the news and looking at the world's problems? Yes. Let me tell you a little something that happened to me. At one point, I was working for Cox Communication, which is one of the biggest multimedia companies in the world, and I was doing tech support, and one of the things they said is they wanted all of the members of their staff basically to be highly informed, since they're a cable company. And so we had our tech support area looked like NASA, honestly. It was like these rows of computers, and it was all dimly lit and all big computers and stuff. And we had two huge screens up, side by side, 6-foot screens. One of them had CNN, one of them had Fox News, running side by side. So I watched two news channels 8 hours a day for years, right? And it was interesting. I could see how one of them would break a story and the other one would immediately follow, and I was watching during the whole shock and awe thing, and I watched us like invade a sovereign nation on live television, which was really weird in retrospect. Seeing that happen, you're like watching the bombs fall, you're like, I'm watching war on TV. That's crazy. So, here's the thing, and we've talked about this before. Have you ever heard the saying, if it bleeds, it leads? You know, my background is marketing and sales, right, and persuasion. And if you're walking by the newsstand and you see the front page of the newspaper and it says, sunny this weekend, and then the next day you walk past the newsstand and on the front page it says, terrible weather ahead, which one of those are you going to buy? You're going to buy the terrible weather ahead one. Because if it says everything is sunny and great, you're going to be like, it's sunny and great. Right? But when it's like, ooh, something terrible is going to happen, something's going to get you, something's going to get you, right? Then that's the one that you'll stop and read. It's human nature, unfortunately. And so that's what we've been fed. And now, especially with the mainstream news cycle on the 24-hour news networks, they have to sell advertising. It's not news. There's no form of impartiality. It's advertising. Or at least advertising sales, and then when you get advertising, that means you have demographics. That's why Fox News is so right-leaning, and MSNBC is so left-leaning, and CNN is kind of center-right-leaning, right? Because there's a certain type of people that they want to watch, and because of that, they tailor their programming to a certain type of people. And if you can scare the hell out of those people to get them to watch, that drives up ratings. Think about it. When you watch the news, even now, when they do the story that's about the Humane Society, or they're like, here's this dog that you can adopt, you're like, oh, okay. You know, you kind of tune out during that part. Everybody does. But if they talk about the 15-car pileup on the freeway, you're like, oh my God, I drive through there. I was just there. That could have been me. That is what they're appealing to. That sentiment of, it could have been me. Right? Because there is a lot of great things in this world. There are as many or more things to be happy about at any time. It's just nobody talks about them because there's not as much money in being positive. That is a fact, unfortunately. No, that there's just not. Honestly, I can tell you from my own personal experience. I'm like, if you're trying to send out an uplifting message, it's very easy for people to dismiss that. It is much easier to dismiss somebody telling you how pretty you are than somebody telling you that you need to lose about 10 pounds. Think about it. If two people walked up and said, or just look tomorrow, if somebody tells you that you look nice, how likely are you to be like, oh, okay, thank you, and keep walking, and have somebody else be like, ooh, your butt's getting a little big. You'll spend the next hour in the mirror. Almost everybody will. It's human nature. And it's how we've been conditioned to respond. So the answer to your question is yes, if it's stressing you out, you should skip it. Because like James Arthur Ray in The Secret said in The Secret, it's good to be informed, but you don't have to be inundated. Like I get daily news briefs sent to my email, so I can kind of skim the cover stories, and I know instantly what is and is not worth my time to follow up on. But I can tell you, after that experience having to watch the news all day, every day, I don't watch much news at all. In fact, I was really, really into it around 2008 for the campaign and leading up to the election of Obama. I was so worried about the country and what was going to happen and who was going to win. And then when Obama won, and I still represent Obama, I was like, okay, can kind of tune out now, and then it's fine. Whatever else happens, happens. That really was how I felt about it, because I was getting too emotional and too caught up in it, and every little bill that wouldn't pass, and it's the world's gonna end if they don't pass this budget cut, and tyranny and slavery and all this stuff that they'll try and scare you about, and that's even on the internet. That's just not on TV. But the fact of the matter is, yes, you should avoid it. You can find out in about 5 minutes everything you need to know. And if anything that huge is going to happen, somebody else will tell you, believe me. Okay. There are so many books and teachers and mediums and things out there on being spiritual. Which do you recommend are the best to take advice from and learn more about? Okay. There are so many books and teachers and mediums and things out there on being spiritual. Which do you recommend are the best to take advice from and learn more about? Okay, you are right. There are a lot of mediums and spiritual teachers and things like that. Sorry, just taking my time here. And I hate to say, most of them are kind of garbage. Garbaggio, right? Here's a couple things that you should measure somebody by. 1, does it seem like their life works? Okay? Do they at least seem like a happy, peaceful person? And again, this doesn't mean they won't have problems. Everybody's got problems. If you're alive, you're going to have problems. But there shouldn't be huge, gaping issues with their life. Like if you're selling positivity on one hand and then you're a womanizer, that's not good. Or if you're a preacher with this huge church, but you're sleeping with little boys, that's not good. Okay? So just look and try and get a sense. Just do a Google check on somebody. Okay? Now, let me warn you. I love Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins even cheated on his first wife and got a divorce, which I lost a little respect for him, but the content of his message is usually sound. I just kind of don't listen to his relationship advice anymore. Right? But if you just Google Tony Robbins or Anthony Robbins, you'll see all this stuff like Tony Robbins is a scam, Tony Robbins is a fraud, which, by the way, if you click on those links, most of those things are just people that are his business competitors that are trying to sell other books. It's like, Tony Robbins is a fraud, but I'm the real thing, so here, buy my stuff. By the way, if you have to make a living attacking and smearing other people, that's another sign that this person is not very spiritual, right? But look at what people are saying and make sure that it's not just opinions. Like, I went to the seminar and I didn't like it, or it didn't work. Always beware of people saying things like it didn't work. I'm like, what does that mean? Didn't work how? What did you do? What did you try? When you do a little digging, what you'll find out is usually when people are saying something didn't work, either they didn't try at all, they didn't try properly, or they didn't try long. Okay? It's like with The Secret. You hear people say that all the time. Oh, I tried The Secret and it didn't work. I'm like, well, what'd you do? Oh, I tried it. Well, what did you do? Oh, I thought positive. Well, for how long? Well, a week. Right? I'm like, okay, so you've lived your entire life up until now to get the results that you're getting up until now. You thought positive for a week, and then your life didn't change. And by the way, you probably didn't think positive. You just kind of painted like a little bit of positivity over like the crap salad that you usually think. And then you were amazed when your life didn't transform instantly. And of course, rather than take responsibility for your action or inaction, you have to blame The Secret, right? So it's the same thing. But if you see, it's not so much that people just are saying mean things because the internet is full of haters. But if you see things like they were sued and lost, you know, like if they were sued for plagiarism and lost, or if they were sued for being, you know, con men or con women and lost, and a lot of people out there have been, those are big red flags, okay? And also just trust your own inner discernment as they tell you things, as they apply, as they share their lessons or whatever. Does it just seem like it makes sense? Does it just seem right? Does it feel right? Does it feel like stuff that you can apply? As if you know, there's also that saying that a broken clock is wrong twice a day. You know, you can have a person that's terrible and wrong about a lot of things, and you'll still gain important insights into them. Like I said, I'm about as liberal gets, and my spiritual path is very, very non-traditional, even though I consider myself a Christian, and God and JC consider me Christian. You know, a lot of the ideas and beliefs I hold are really, really separate from what your average Christian believes. This is why I'm talking about Buddha all the time, because that stuff works. But I still listen every day to Christian radio, and I listen to sermons from like conservative right-wing preachers, because I can still learn things from their insights and their opinions, even though I may not agree with all of it. I may not even agree with most of it. Just the fact that I'm confronted with it, and when I realize I don't agree with it or it doesn't resonate as true with me, then I have to look and see, well, what do I really believe? Why doesn't this resonate with me? If I believe that, if that interpretation is not the right one, what do I feel like is the right one and why? Does that make sense? So when you start looking at things that way, you can actually learn from any teacher. And it's not just about finding a guru to just hook onto and ask to be told what to do, right? It's about finding a source of information that you can then apply that is going to help benefit you on your journey through this life. Does that make sense? Now, personally, I can tell you also, I am highly skeptical of channeling. It's too easy to falsify, it's too easy to fake, it's too vague. The Archangel Gabriel cannot be saying that many different things to that many different people, you know, or he and Michael need to get their story straight, because there's a lot of conflicting information out there. Now, I know for a fact, firsthand, that channeling is possible. It's possible, but it's just like psychic phenomenons are possible. You know, telepathy and reading people's minds and telekinesis and seeing the future, all of these things are possible. But does that mean the psychic in the strip mall can do those things? No. No, it does not. And I'm going to let you in on a very high-level spiritual secret that most people don't know. Just because you make contact with a spirit doesn't mean it knows anything more than you do. Always remember that. That when people say they're channeling this entity, oh, they might be channeling that entity. But that doesn't mean that the entity knows what it is talking about. Does that make sense? Not even counting if it's like a malevolent thing trying to lead you astray, which exists. And unfortunately, its negative spirits are the easiest to contact. Because if you try and contact a positive spirit that is beyond your power to comprehend or beyond your power to control, the positive spirit will just ignore you. It's like trying to ask out a really, really hot girl, but she's nice, so she doesn't want to hurt your feelings. She'll just be like, keep walking, right? But if you reach out for a negative spirit, especially a negative spirit that is beyond your ability to control, they're like wild animals. It'll come and act like, oh, you got me. Oh, don't hurt me. Yes, I'll serve you, master, right? And they will just do everything they can to twist you up and ruin your life because they enjoy that. That's what makes them negative spirits, right? So that's my 2 cents on channeling. Not really my thing. All right, I think we got time for one more. Let's see. Can a place really be haunted? If so, what are the qualifications for a place to be so? Places can absolutely be haunted. Absolutely. I've been to haunted places. I've cleared haunted places. Actually, you might not know this, and I wouldn't usually talk about it, but we're friends. Exorcisms are one of the things that I do best. People call me for exorcisms quite frequently, actually. Because I don't even actually have to go there to clear an area. I just have, like, a 99% success rate. The only time I have a problem clearing spaces are when the people have invited the negativity in and then they invite the negativity back in. It really is like the vampire mythos. You know, a vampire can't come in until you invite it. It's basically the same thing, right? So I can tell you, I'm running out of time. I'm trying to tell you this story fast. Will Rogers State Park right here in Los Angeles. Apparently during World War II, Germans fleeing were living out in the state park. They built little towns down there because they didn't want to get put in concentration camps like the Japanese did. So there's like old abandoned like towns down in Will Rogers State Park. And a group of friends took me, and just how we got there was a long story that unfortunately I don't have time to tell. But long story short, we were looking for this haunted town, and then we found this barn, and the barn had barbed wire all around it, but there was a hole ripped in the barbed wire. Okay, so like the stupid kids in a movie, we go through the hole in the barbed wire and we go over to the barn, right? And so they're like, go inside. And I'm like, no. And they're like, come on, let's go inside. So I literally put 1 foot inside. I crossed the threshold with 1 foot. And upstairs, something goes boom and shakes the entire place. And I freeze. And I look at my friend and I'm like, did you hear that? And he's like, yeah. But this other girl was with us, like, I didn't hear anything. And we're like, yeah, I just stepped inside and there was this huge bang. And she's like, no, you didn't. You're just messing with me. And I haven't moved my foot back out, by the way. And I'm like, no, that really happened. And while we're trying to convince her that it happened, boom, happens again. Whole place shakes. Needless to say, I turned and left. Okay? Some of my friends are like, why didn't you go look? And some of my friends are all like, oh, hell no. Right? Yeah, so that was at least one of my experiences in a haunted place. But I'm about out of time. You're going to hear my giant clock go off here. So again, you're great, and I love you. This is probably going to be my last video of 2011. So again, thank you for everything. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. If you like this or anything else I've done, share it with your friends, post it on your wall, send it out. Let's spread the word. Let's have the best 2012 that is possible. You are great, and I love you. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. God bless. Bye-bye.